Welcome to another episode of the Provider's Playbook. Today, you're going to hear Yasser's story from living on the streets to Richard Branson's island. You're going to find out how we actually use algebra every single day. And then finally, the ultimate recipe for success for NDIS providers. Yasser, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
I love how someone as, I'm not going to say powerful, but as someone as incredible as yourself has the softest voice when he speaks.
I do have a bit of a soft voice. I'll try and be a bit louder.
No, it's
doesn't
fine.
work.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm super excited for this conversation, so thanks again for coming on board.
Thank you, likewise.
We always start with a game, and you're not going to get special treatment here, I'm afraid.
Okay.
So the game is essentially for us to get to know you and the audience to get to know a bit about who you are before we get to know sort of your story and then everything there.
Yeah, this
Alright.
one's a little bit different, Chris. I thought
A new game.
Oh, really? I feel special now.
Yeah, so you should feel special.
Okay.
I want to see first of all how playful and fun you are, because you know my saying is unless it's fun we're not doing it, right?
All right. Well, let's
And
have
you've
some
just
fun.
come back from traveling, haven't you?
Yes, I have.
And you had a good time over there traveling and dancing with all your friends, so you should know a few of these. So I thought we'd play the game Finish the Lyric.
I failed, trust me. Before even you start, can we
This
do
guy's probably
something
thinking,
that is a bit more?
I've just come from Richard Branson's island to your office to sing songs with you.
And I'm terrible at lyrics. I can't remember lyrics. And
Well, you can't be good at it all, you know.
okay, well, can we find something that I'm good at? So at least,
Well, this will be even funner for me if you're really shit at it. 'Cause I will beat you
I
at
wouldn't
something.
even know half of them.
Yeah, I don't.
got
No,
all of
no,
them.
she's just trying to get us to sing. She's been trying to get me to sing all morning.
Do I look like a singer? That's like totally fail.
Maybe. Do you want to try one?
I
Come on, try. You didn't get to where you are without trying.
well, I'm happy to try. Just I know,
Okay, all right.
Anyway.
Living on the Prayer by Bon Jovi.
All right,
Know
we
the
need
song?
to. I'm telling you, skip. I love Bon Jovi. I listen to him. I don't listen to lyrics. I like music.
Okay.
Trust me. I'm not
Other
the
game,
person
next
for-
game.
Oh, come on. I really wanted to play that game with you. I thought it would be fun.
It's fun for you, yes.
It was good. That's exactly why I wanted to play it, because I thought it would be hilarious for me. And
I have a problem. I'll tell you something.
Yeah.
A quick story, right? To just
Please.
put it in context for you. So as I was growing up, I thought I'll be the amazing singer, right? Because in my head, I think I have a fantastic voice. Obviously, I don't. So I went to audition for, to be in the chorale of the school and sing and all that kind of stuff. So the class had 48 kids. We lined up and we went up to sing. And the teacher was like, everyone goes to the right. And when it came my turn, she put me to the left. So in my head, I thought, if I'm the only one in the left, I must be the only one that succeeded, that made it through. Because I put my heart to the song, right? And I was like singing from the heart. I was the only one that failed. So when I thought I was the only one that failed, I thought I'll skip back in the line because maybe she didn't hear me properly, was too busy. So I failed again, right? So I got the message, right? I just can't, it's not my thing. So I decided to
brilliant.
so you're
Idol.
letting your
Australian Idol schooling system.
your failures deter you from playing a game with me. Okay, all right. Well, I reckon you would have known it.
Okay.
It was really easy, but okay. If you don't want to play my game, I'm going to play with the next guest. So Tommy, you are the one little sucker that has to play that game with me.
Yeah, when you talk to Tommy next, you can let him know it's your fault that he
Yeah.
has to sing.
It has to sing, yes.
Yeah,
we'll do
it's
that.
your fault. Okay, all right. So we might do a thing called hot takes then. So essentially, I will give a one-liner in terms of something, and then you essentially just give me your opinion.
Okay, I can play those stuff.
I know. I mean, I feel like I'm giving you an easy task now. I don't think I'm challenging you at all. I think singing would have been way more fun. But
Singing, I just wouldn't know the lyrics.
I
Trust
think
me.
you would. Anyway, all right, cool. We'll play it once we stop recording.
Okay,
I'll play the game with you
Okay.
offline. Okay.
done.
Okay. Perfect. All right. Okay. So one of the thing is reality TV is more authentic than most scripted dramas. What do you think?
I think, well, it's a sales technique, right? Any drama or TV shows are about having more audiences. Reality TV tends to attract people. Whether it's more authentic or not, I'm not quite sure about that. Because commonly, there's a whole research happens while reality TV still has a level of acting behind it. You can see a cameraman right in front of you.
Okay, but I know that you know somebody on reality TV on one of my favourite shows, Dubai Bling.
Yes. Lojane Omran is one of my good friends.
And so, is she her authentic self on that reality TV show?
She's a friend, all right? Like, it's tricky. No, and in all honesty, Lojane is an amazing, beautiful person, right? She projects that in the show quite well. She's a much better person than in the show. There's a level of difference. There's definitely a level of difference there. But she's better outside of the show than in the show.
Well, I
in
think
my
she.
opinion.
As soon as, remember I told you about Dubai Bling, I think it was like our first meeting, I was like a total fangirl. I was like, oh my God, Dubai Bling, I really want to go to Dubai. Because I think you just come back at the time.
Yeah.
And then I was saying Dubai Bling, and then of course, it's Lojane, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You know her, and then I was fangirling even harder, and showed me a photo or whatever. But I think she comes across very beautiful,
genuine. Very.
beautiful,
She's a good person, comes from a good family, and beautiful person.
Yeah, cool.
I think I think it's more authentic, but I don't think it is actually authentic, if that makes sense. So I think it's more authentic in the fact that it's not scripted. However, I think as soon as the camera's on, it's the same you and I. Like, I can't maintain this energy all day, every day. So when there's a camera on, we're, the biggest version of ourselves. And I also think that, you curate, when it comes to reality TV, situations to make drama happen. For example, like Big Brother, if it's a quiet week, they just, start loading everyone with alcohol to try and create some drama so they've got some hooks, right? So it's a curated environment. While it's still real people that aren't scripted, it's still that they still need the natural story arc. Plus, you need to edit it. So same thing with maths. I'm sure that the people that are put on maths that look like amazing people are probably not as good as they're perceived, and then the people that are made to look like villains are probably not as bad as they're made out.
There has to be a villain though.
Yeah.
I love selling Sunset, but I don't think it's about real estate. But anyway. All right, cool. Working from home is more productive than working in an office.
I don't believe that, no. So I think there was a phase when COVID especially highlighted that hit very hard. There was a level of increased productivity because everyone wanted it to work. But over time, that reversed back a little bit. It's not the same case. That's how I see it personally. The other thing I see from working from home, if you're not mature enough as an organization to deal with that, then it will give you bad reflections on your business.
Yeah. And there's this thing about meaningful connection, right? Like, there is nothing like having a person in your presence, looking at them in the eye, being in their physical, like, aura or whatever, and being able to have a meaningful conversation with them.
That's subjective in my opinion.
Do you think you can have that online?
Look, no, I'm thinking some people prefer not to have that. So, like, I've seen a lot of staff, which we have some of them that have autism, they prefer to work in a very, empty environment. They like their own space. So it's very subjective. When we talk from a business perspective about productivity, that's when I question the fact that working from home is enough. There's also an aspect of safety. Is it a workplace? Is it a home? If someone trips or hurts themselves during work, is that a workplace or is it a home? Can you go in someone's home and mark it as, be careful, there's a step here and there's a corner there or that? There's a lot more than what we think about working from home, to be honest.
Yeah.
That makes it more difficult, in my personal opinion. And of course, the human interaction is part of it.
And so do you still, in your organization, do you still have, like, diversity in terms of working from home and office, or everyone's back in the office these days?
Even though I'd like to think I'm a very nice man. No, we don't have working from home policy, but we do consider things in that space. So if the mother has a child that they had to do something from home, then we appreciate that and we respect that. But it's case by case scenario. As an organization direction, we don't do working from home.
Yeah, and I can assure you that my working from home space would be a workplace health and safety hazard. My children leave shit out everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, I'd be tripping over bikes and all sorts of stuff, So I agree. What do you think, Chris?
Oh, 100% not productive at all. I know myself. Like, I work from home. I've got multiple office spaces that I can go and work from, and I'm so much more productive. Same thing with my team, right? Like, and you've got no accountability. And it's not about being a micromanager and stuff, because I like to work at the speed of light. Like I'm here, there, everywhere, whatever. But when you have someone in an office, even if it's just in an office by themselves, I don't know if it's a pattern interrupt, but it's just too close. Like if you're able to go and stand up from your desk and go into your kitchen and then go into your lounge room and then go back into your desk, like it just all melds into one, which I think makes work basically go for 24 hours, but you're never working for 24 hours, and it makes your home life go for 24 hours that basically never gets the full 24 hours. I think it needs to be separate. That's not just my view of it. That's like when people work in an office, I get a lot more outputs.
I
Yeah.
agree. I see it the same way.
Yeah, and I think also when it was COVID and we couldn't leave the house, it was different,
Yeah,
right?
we worked
Yeah.
because
So
it was boring not to.
Like, yeah, so it's like, it's not like now if you want to whip out in the middle of the day and get your nails done, you know, or go and get a blow wave or whatever, well, then you have the ability to do that, whereas we didn't during COVID, you know?
I think sometimes there's the personal interest from an employee point of view, and there's the business interest. And sometimes they're not on the same page, right? Business might have much more productivity when people are in one place and there's a management and all that kind of stuff. But if you're mature enough to have working from home, a lot of the IT companies tend to do that. They work from home to shrink office space, save money, all that kind of stuff. But they have systems that can monitor productivity on the day, check if the person is actually not functioning on the system. We don't have that, and we're way out, you know, to be able to catch up on that.
Yeah.
So I believe that we need to be in the office.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. I think when, like you said, that everyone wanted it to work back when COVID happened, and how you mentioned that there was nothing else to do, I also think because it was new, so it was interesting working from home, right? Because it's like, oh, how does this Zoom thing work? Oh, how does this interactive, how's this new
I
meeting
always
structure
hated it.
going to work? No, but when it first happened, it was interesting, like how, because we're working it out as we go along. Whereas now we've all worked from home, had the ability to for 5 years. It's not new, so it's not interesting. So we don't want to actually invest into it. It's the same thing with when you're at work. Like, oh, great, my boss isn't there today. I can, you know, listen to my music loud or whatever.
I agree.
Yeah, cool. Okay, I know you do a fair bit of work in the robotic space, or that you're leaning into that space too. So
Yes.
is technology making people less intelligent?
I don't believe that at all. I know that I've met so many people think that, but it reminds me when the calculators first came about, and I used to go to school. I'm not allowed to bring your calculator in. I'm like, well, I can do a lot more work with the calculator than without. The fact of it is, go back 50 years when none of these things were used and there was no technology, and look at now. Are we more advanced today or more advanced 50 years ago? Today we're way more advanced. Technology is way ahead. Medical treatments are way ahead. Medications are way ahead. You know, we're way ahead in everything. Then why is technology making us worse and dumber? It doesn't make sense. I can see that we are definitely progressing in every aspect in life, and somehow we feel that technology is taking us back. Now, that doesn't mean we don't manage how technology impacts our lives and how we rely on it versus not. But I think if you channel it correctly, it helps you to deliver better and get better outcomes.
And you can leverage it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, totally. I remember when I lived with my grandmother when we were young, when we were kids, and she used to have the whole bookshelf of encyclopedias. And so when we would want to go and figure something out for our studies or whatever, we would go to we'd have to flick to the page. It's kind of like, you know, when we used to have to use UBDs, you know?
Yeah.
UBDs, is that what they're called? UBDs? You know, the book, the maps.
Oh,
Yeah.
You know, page P4
Yeah,
or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
You know, and now we have Google Maps and we have Google, right? So even from an information sharing perspective, I think that we have access to so much more information, good or bad, you know. But yeah, I think if you leverage it for the right use, it's
Agree.
making us.
I agree. It makes things faster, it
Yeah.
deliver better, and it delivers.
I think you're entirely right about leveraging it, though. I think the problem is when you let technology do it for you without knowing, right? So I think the value of the calculator, right, is the perfect example. But without, like, what happens if you stuck someone without a calculator? Obviously you're not, because you've got your phone. But like algebra, for example, like A plus B equals X. People go, when am I ever going to use that? You use that every single day in your head, right? Because you know that X is what
just a
time you
formula.
have to leave home to get somewhere. A is how long it takes you to get there. and B is the time that you have to be there. So if the time you have to be there is 10 o'clock and it's going to take you 40 minutes, you need to be able to go, okay, so then I need to leave at 9:20. So I need to deduct A from B to get X.
Yes.
So without even realizing it, you still use algebra every single day. Now, a calculator can speed that process up with, okay, I need to take 40 minutes off 10, but you need to understand the process of how to do it to then leverage the technology.
I'm laughing because I'm one of those people that say, I've never used fucking algebra in my life.
There you go. You use it every single day.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Mind blown.
Yeah. And same thing
Okay.
with the maps too. Like think about all of these kids now that have never ever had to use a map to work out where to go. If they've got to go to the city and their phone dies, they're screwed. Whereas me, I know how to use street signs because I grew up without, like it was easier for me than using the book, follow the street signs. So I can, if I get stuck somewhere where I'm quite not familiar with it, I can work out my way back to have my general bearings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I know, so if that fails, you've got the default. Same thing at school with doing woodwork. Before they let you use the power tools, they make you use the hand tools first so you understand the process. Then speed it up with the technology.
Okay, I've got one more before we crack on to learn a little bit more about all the amazing things that you do and how we can share some of your golden nuggets with our audience. But has social media done more harm than good to society?
I think it evolved. I think it started good, and I think it evolved into maybe much more darker space. And I think it became a drive for financial gains. It's an open place for a lot of unethical stuff. Exposure for younger generations in a way that might not be the most healthiest for them. So I think it started from a good concept and it evolved into a much more darker space, in my opinion.
Yeah, Chris, I know you love social media, so you might have a differing opinion.
Yeah. I don't think it's done more harm than the good that it's done, but I think it just represents society as a whole. The fact that we have so much interest in what everyone else is doing and the fact that we need to be validated by other people. And when you look at why social media works as to rather what works, you can really understand a lot about like culture and, you know, the way people operate. And I find it so interesting because I'm on the other side of it, like making social media perform rather than being a consumer of social media.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I'm kind of in the middle. So whilst I love sharing, I probably, from my trauma background, I probably haven't done enough healing yet to manage my emotions when it comes to social media. So when we were recently when we did our last NDIS workshop, and we did an ad that went out, and it was just me walking down saying, you know, so I can't even remember the ad, but it was about, you know, attending essentially. And I thought I looked fine on the day. I thought it was all well and good. And most of the comments that were meaningful were fine, but there were some other horrific comments on there, like, you know, get to the gym, you know, more filler than a something car, like all of these horrible things about my appearance, which had nothing to do. And then also other things that were saying things like, oh, NDIS is a scam, another money hungry, grabbing, blah, 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 and all this kind of things. And you know me, like, I'm probably, like, this is my purpose, the reason why I was put on this earth, you know, and I'm so passionate about what I do. So to have somebody, like, say that I'm doing the wrong thing or even have any of that intention hurt my heart, you know. And then obviously with the appearance stuff, I was just like, oh my God, everyone's so mean, you know. And I was like, for a second there, I was like, I don't know if I'm cut out for this, you know, because, you know, it was, yeah. So I found it really difficult navigating that whole space and putting yourself out there for what you think is good, but then getting hate. I was like, oh my God, most people like me, you know.
Yeah. What I think is, what you said there is exactly what Chris is talking about, right? That this reflects the whole society. What you saw there is the whole society. The judgmental people, the people that, you know, don't judge you on what you look, to the people that might agree with your value system, so they highlight that, and the people that are quite, you know, judgmental on all your actions, or what you're doing, on where you're getting your money from, and all that kind of stuff, right? This is what the society is about, and social media highlights that. Now, whether that's good or bad, that's the question here. Not particularly, like, I do agree, it does highlight all the society and it does reflect it, but is all the society where we want to polarize towards, or we want to just polarize towards the good people, and if we can minimize exposure to the bad side, that obviously improves our personality and how we interact with each other, that kind of stuff. We all faced something in our life. I faced plenty. I can tell stories and stories. But it doesn't define who I am, and I never let it. And no one's opinion will define who I am. I know who I am, and I know where I stand. And what do I do to deliver that to people is through my journey. My journey shows that. And social media can be a mean to show my journey. But it has evolved into a darker place, and it is used in a lot of ways in bad things as well. And you just have to pick your, where you want to, which side of the social media you want to be on, I think.
Why do you feel so much like you just said, all of the comments, same thing you said the other day, one of my TikToks that we put up, we had like 2,000 comments on it, and there's like 4 negative ones, 4 out of 2,000. Like the ratio there of to have such a high percentage of positive comments, and then you messaged me and said, I can't even bring myself to read the comments. There's 4 negative ones out of 2,000.
Yeah, and I suppose
why do you care about the 4 and not be proud about the 1,996 that agree with your messaging?
Yeah, you're right, and I suppose it's probably maybe more of an internal thing, and I think that as humans, or maybe not as humans, maybe I'm sort of generalizing there, but for example, I think I gave this when I did my psychometric test, and I was 3 in, say, or like I was low scoring in, let's say, thoroughness, right? But I was incredibly high scoring in risk taking, yeah? And so I didn't see, and a whole bunch of other things, empathy, gregaciousness, and all of these other beautiful skills and things that I have. I didn't see how amazing I was on this side. I went straight to, oh my God, I'm not thorough.
Yeah.
So maybe it's just a me thing, or, it's just a some people thing. But I suppose, and maybe it's this thing around social media, is that I typically think that I know that I'm a good human, and I build really great, strong relationships with people. So to have my character sort of...
But it's people that don't actually know
I
you.
know. That's why I just don't look at it. Anyway.
Yeah. But do you think if you're putting a point out there and there's an opinion, there's going to be for and against. So there's 2 options, which means typically, statistically, 50% of people are going to agree with you, 50% are not going to agree with you, right? So you've got to be prepared for the positive as much as the negative. The negative should be at the equal right. And also, who your people are. So that's all you should be targeting.
Did this turn into a Rachel therapy session?
Yeah.
We can.
But no, you know who your people are. And if
Yeah.
someone's commenting and going, oh, another NDIS scam, it's like that person obviously isn't within the industry to say that, because they don't even know how the industry works.
Yeah.
Who cares? Let them comment, because then it feeds the algorithm, because someone else is going to jump in and defend you. Then they're going to start a war there. And then all of a sudden the algorithm's going to send it to the moon. And that's fantastic, because what it means is more eyeballs are listening to our message, and more people with disabilities are having their story heard.
You know what, Chris? I hate to say it, but you're right, mate.
No, it's people always, reflect their own experiences. And if someone puts a negative comment, it could be purely because they just faced something that is not good enough for them, and they see the world in a dark place. We've all done it, right? It's a human nature. If we let it define our actions and how we interact with it, then that's where the problem starts.
Yeah, absolutely.
But people can have opinions. That's fine.
Yeah. Well, no one that's doing better than you is ever going to judge you, are they? Like, a bodybuilder's not in there judging someone for going to the gym for the first time. The only person judging that person is the guy sat on the lounge with Cheeto dust on his fingers like, oh, that guy's going to fail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why do you care about the guy sat at home with Cheeto dust all over his fingers, what he thinks of your fitness journey? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right, mate. All right, enough about me and social media. We're here to learn more about you. So I'd love for you to share, a quick snippet of your journey, where it all began. Who is Yasser? You can go back as far as you want. You can share as much as you want. Floor is yours.
All right. Well, look, I grew up in Egypt. I left Egypt after high school. Went and studied engineering in Dubai. That's my first degree. I left Dubai and I came to Australia. When I came to Australia, I came from a family. My dad was a judge, and his thing is, stay with the family. Why would you go to Australia? You know no one in Australia. You have no friends, no family. And I literally had no one in Australia whatsoever. And I'm like, no, I've got an Australian degree. I studied in University of Wollongong, so I'm going to get out there and jobs will be just standing in the airport waiting for me. I'll be fine. But reality is that was not the case. I came in, walked out of the airport, there was no jobs aligned, and I was exhausted because the flight was way too long. So, and my struggle started then. And that was probably the defining moment in my life of what I wanted to do and how I came very determined till today on delivering and succeeding and having great outcomes. Because I ended up sleeping on the streets for a few weeks, and I ended up having, very, very tight budget and having one meal a day to survive longer. And that was tough, but I never saw it as tough. What I saw a defining moment where it motivated me. From there, after I decided this will never happen to me again. So everything I did from that point on was about never going back to that point till today. So I ended up working in sales. So I never worked in engineering till today. So that I just could not find a job in that space.
Wow.
So I worked at Nick Scali Furniture. That was my first job.
Oh, I do love a Nick Scali lounge.
Well, if I was your salesperson, you wouldn't have loved it as much. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, you
Which
probably would have.
Nick Scali did you work
with
in?
a show.
So I started in Auburn store, and then I ended up managing Moore Park store and Caringbah stores.
The one at is that the one on Parramatta Road, and the guy's always got.
That's Auburn store.
Yeah, cool. Because I know. Do you know Marino Brescia? Because he had Brescia.
No,
furniture
so Brescia
right
was across the road. Yeah, I know
yeah.
Marino Brescia.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes. So I worked in that store across from Brescia Furniture.
Yeah.
And the manager there now was the person that hired me. His name is Victor. He's now the one that managing the Auburn store.
Yeah.
So I stayed in contact with him. But I have a story around that. So when I went to apply for a job, he wouldn't hire me. He kept telling me, no worries, I'll help you out. But he was just brushing me off. And every 2-3 days, I was desperate. So I kept going back. I'm like, what's happening? And he goes, I'm just waiting for head office to get back to me. And then I started to realize that he was lying to me. But I was that desperate, I needed a job. I went back and I said to him, you're not being honest with me. And he had like the cross and all these things. I said, well, you're doing the most anti-Christian thing that I know, because Christianity is about honesty and helping others and all that kind of beautiful stuff. Well, you've done nothing of that. You lied to me, you brushed me off. If you cannot get me a job, just tell me. So I can look somewhere else. He got me the job on the day. So that was the starting point. And I always tell people, if you don't pursue what you want to get, you're just not going to get it. It's not going to be handed to you. You have to go after what you want. And that was my first starting point, is at Nick Scali Furniture. I became a store manager, estate manager, and I grew into that space quite significantly after that. And at the time, I was like, I'm an engineer doing sales. I didn't like it much. Now I can tell you it's the best thing that I've done. Because sales boosted my confidence significantly. It improved my communication skills significantly. And it made me funnier, because I used to be very lame. I couldn't say a joke. Everything was translated. I'd like to think I'm funny now.
What's your best joke then, huh?
Oh, no, I'm not going to say.
Come on, let's test this theory. What's your best joke? Oh my God, my eyelashes stuck together.
See, that's what happens when you pick on me.
So how did you go from Nick Scali to when you started in the disability sector?
So it's a bit of a story. So I finished Nick Scali and I went into that corporate side of things, and I went sort of a bit high level in the corporate world, and I was having a train ride. So and I do that till now, by the way. When I have one of those bad days, I catch a train, right? And I have this thing around monitoring human behaviors. I like to see how people act and the changes, and the train gives me a lot of that when you ride.
So interesting, isn't it? I completely agree with you.
You can see how just the shift in the energy, even how people look, how they dress, how they interact, all that kind of stuff, right? So I used to do that very often as a meditation approach. When I'm upset or something, I just catch a train and just monitor people's behaviors. That's all I do. And it gets me in a good place, and then end of story. But one of those times, there's something it's called moment in the moment. So we all face it. Someone heavily on drugs almost dies and comes back and say, okay, no more drugs anymore. It's called moment in the moment. So I had one of those. I met a lady on a train that was crying. Her name was Margaret. And I asked a natural question, are you okay? And she started telling me her story. And her story was all around like how her kids are want to put her in nursing home, or they looking forward to her dying to get her house, but they never really look after her, visit her, or interact with her beyond that. As the conversation went, I picked up her bags. She had some shopping bags, walked her to her house. And that was a bit messy. I started cleaning it. And then ever since, every Saturday, I'll go for 4 or 5 hours, just spending some time with her. We do shopping. I cook a meal for her, and then have a cup of tea and leave. That was my thing. And in my head, I'm helping someone that is lonely and all that kind of stuff. And I had no family here. So for me, that was something that I really liked doing.
Yeah.
But when she passed, two things happened. One, I realized that I wasn't helping her. She was helping me. Because I had no other family. She was the only family that I had. So to me, I was like...
That, like fulfillment that... So she was
Totally.
fulfilling your life more so than...
More, but I didn't even realize it when I was in the journey. Right?
Yeah.
So when she is gone, I'm like, I'm so empty. So that triggered for me that helping people does feel good. Looking after people does satisfy us significantly. And none of the money that I earned at the time and none of that side of things was enough, was not satisfactory at all. I was satisfied more with the time I spent with her. So I decided to quit my job, and then I moved into Northwest Disability Service. Actually, it was the first disability job that I did. And to me, that was so satisfying. I went as a support worker, purely by choice. I quit a high-paid job to go in into it. I didn't care. Money doesn't matter. I'm getting the satisfaction. And then after a few months, I had reality hitting my face. I'm struggling financially. It was, and it reminded me of the days when I had struggles. I wasn't at that level.
You mean when you came to Australia?
When I came
expecting
to Australia,
engineering
correct.
Role to be at the airport waiting for you.
You know. So, but I discovered I wasn't at that sort of tough situation because I kind of understood how to work, you know, in Australia and to do things. But I started to tightening up. The nice car is no longer, you know, an option. Traveling holidays was started to, you know, all these dreams that I've been working on for years started diminishing. And then I called my dad actually, and I said, I'm a bit struggling with something. My heart tells me helping people feels good. That's what you should be doing. My head is saying, well, do it as a hobby and bloody get back to a good job and get paid well. What do I do? My dad said one word, said, I'm going to tell you something and I'm going to hang up the phone and then you go figure. And he goes, a ship without goodness sink. I'll talk to you later. And he hang up. This is a true story. He literally told me that a ship without goodness sinks, and he hang up. So I had to sit down and analyze what that meant. And it meant that my life without goodness in it will sink, will not mean anything. So I had a shift of narrative in my head. I said, can I help people and be successful? Can I help people and make money? And the more I make money, the more successful I get, the more people I help.
That's where it is.
Can I get the balance right? And that's what I've been working on ever since.
And let's, like, I feel like that fast forward thing comes in. You know, fast forward to now.
Well,
Like, I mean, where do you start? I mean, like.
so I look at business from a perspective of a lot of planning, right? So I believe in, if you want to achieve something that delivers goodness and financial return and sustainable growth, you need to plan right. You need to think of everything that could be thrown at you throughout the journey, and then mitigate that through contingency plans. And the better you plan, the better you think, the better you analyze, the more success you would have, or the more chances to succeed you would have. And with that, I sat down and had a plan around tender love and care. And a few years back, we were 100% funded by the NDIS. And I thought, okay, what is our risks? What is our threats for the business? And being 100% funded by the government was the biggest risk. Because what happens if a policy changes? What happens if everything adjusts? And that's what we're facing now. There's a lot of fear around plan management, support coordination. All these conversations that we're hearing is purely because no one is ready for the change, and we don't know what the change looks like.
Or because no one identified it as a threat.
Correct.
Yeah, maybe because a lot of providers are still very much on the tools, on the ground, focused on putting out the fires, not having that strategic sort of oversight.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. And there's a lot of opportunities in the NDIS that is working today. There's no question about that. But for me, I thought, okay, can I diversify? So instead of having all my eggs in one basket, can I diversify? But the most important thing for me was to stay to my purpose. I still want to help vulnerable communities to live a better life. So how can I stay to that and diversify? And that's how we got creative with going international. So we changed our growth strategy. Initially, we wanted to go national, and we decided, no, we're not going to go Perth. We're going to go Dubai.
Yeah.
All right? And that shift was huge for us because we did really well in Dubai, and then we expanded from there in the United States, UK, Saudi, whatever, and it all started working and unfolding. And we started learning through the journey is when you diversify, you create sustainable growth and lower risk. And I didn't particularly plan to shrink NDIS. It's still we grew, we're still doing really well, we're still continuously growing, but I grew everything else as well to make it look like the smallest part of the ecosystem that I'm building.
That's so amazing.
This is something that's really cool. So you've now essentially gone from when you first got in Australia to now you're at a point where you were telling us before that you had conversations with Richard Branson about people with disabilities working for Virgin. So that's sort of the size that you've gotten to. What has, tell us, for everyone listening, because they missed the conversation, tell us what happened there, how you were with Richard and you showed him a story from Rachel's Instagram about people with disabilities and stuff.
So I basically had a conversation with Richard Branson. Basically.
So when I was trying to grow the business internationally, this is how my story with Richard Branson started. Is I wanted to find a mentor that has done it before, done it really well, that holds a good heart, right? So I looked at a lot of the business people. I looked at Bill Gates. I looked at Elon Musk. I looked at everyone that has done it really well, that is the top of the top, because I want to be the top of the top. And to get to that point, I had to be mentored by the right people. And the reason that I chose Richard Branson is because he's that kind of person that is running an empire while doing goodness. He does so much good from the heart that that's exactly what I wanted. I wanted to become a successful person that is doing good. So I started pursuing how to meet him, and I met him multiple times, and we talked quite a lot. And one of the discussions was always around disability and how he's got a heart for it and all that kind of stuff. And then Rachel shared a photo around Virgin, which is something we had discussed, and we brought it up in the board, and we had a discussion with Virgin around multiple times. And suddenly Rachel puts a photo of a Virgin employee that has a disability. So I sent that to Richard Branson, and I said, it's done, let's make it global, because my mission is Australia is the starting point of everything we've done, but my mission is that the world becomes a better place. There are 1 billion people with disability in the world.
It's crazy.
So it's a big number, and you still are marginalized. It's crazy.
And it's so funny. I know that we feel like in our way that we're having the impact that we want to do, right? In the people that we serve, and by doing the right thing, and by elevating our sector and all that kind of stuff. But truly, we are a drop in the ocean in comparison to the global impact or the reach that we could potentially have. So I feel really proud and honoured that I know you, and I can share in your proximity and be a part of that, a small drop in part of that in the impact that
you're
you
amazing,
have.
Rachel. You really are. We talk a lot about change and how that happens. This is a puzzle.
Yeah.
We all have a piece to play, right? And the only way this puzzle will complete is if we all play our pieces. Now, I can't do the puzzle on my own, and I don't think anyone can. It's too big for one person or for one entity. We play our parts based on what we can and our capabilities and abilities to do, but just as long as we pay attention to it and we actually play our part. And it's okay to run a successful business. It's okay to have good returns. I have nothing against that at all. I think it's actually smart to do that.
It's actually our duty.
It's a duty, because if you're not successful, we've had beautiful providers completely collapse because he didn't run the back end.
Yeah,
well.
if they're running on I heard, we were talking anecdotally the other day that apparently the sweet spot for provider profit is 2 or 4% or something.
2%. The NDIS costing model
is 2%.
Is 2%.
That's I'm sorry, but that just is unsustainable, because we only need to look at the price guide update versus the Shad's Award update.
And you're gone.
And you're gone. You're 2% because that increased more than 2% more than the price guide. Your business is fucked. Yeah. So any people out there that are telling you the sweet spot is 2% profit for your business,
But it's not- I
Unfortunately,
don't think
you're
it's the
going
sweet
to have.
spot. Yeah,
Let's say
no,
you're
but-
supporting 500 participants,
But
and then
also-
that price guide thing happens. There's 500 people without services being delivered now because you didn't manage your numbers right. But if you're at 10%, all of a sudden someone's plan runs out. And they've got 6 weeks till the new one rolls over. You can jump in and do that pro bono work. You can do the extra for
And we
them.
do it. And I
You've
know
got
Richard
the
does
fuel.
it. We
have
do
a
it.
love bucket, don't we?
We pick the
Yes.
pieces. We have a love bucket.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, you're not servicing people the way you believe in.
That's
We
right.
believe in helping people
Yeah.
more than money.
Yeah, good attracts
So
good.
that's it.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. And look, I see where the government's coming from. I see where providers are coming from. But I'm just talking about, like you are, the business mindset. Then are you getting creative enough to be sustainable? Because 2% is not. The round table figures says 68% of providers are running at a loss. 68% of
Yeah, I
providers
heard it
are
was
at a
even
loss.
more
But
than
there's
that.
a bucket
Well,
of...
that's the loss. Now
Yeah.
that's the ones that participated in the workshop. I'm sure there's more.
Yeah.
And then the break even is another like 20%.
Yeah.
And then the ones at the 2% is like another 15%. So almost all providers between 2% to losing money. And then the ones that are making reasonable profits or reasonable returns are minority, not majority.
Yeah, and they're also typically the smaller organisations that are
Yes.
still working in the business, because obviously then they're still trading their time for money, which is,
You're just a cafe owner at that point.
Yeah.
Yes.
The bigger you get, the less money you make in the NDIS.
100%.
That's what I believe in.
100%, totally, because you need more resources.
Correct.
All your expenses become exactly.
And every resource you add into your business is unbillable.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
yeah, most
That's
of
very
it.
good
in the
point.
NDIS,
Yeah.
every resource you put is unbillable apart
unbillable.
from
But
support
also,
workers.
who is the mathematical genius behind doing the disability cost model? Because clearly there is a mathematical error there. If particularly when they're trying to, it's like kind of when they wanted to, when they brought in SDA because they realized that they wanted to get investors to develop housing so that we could house more people living with disabilities, right? So they made those returns attractive. Yeah. Similarly, initially that was there in I'm hypothesizing here, but I mean I suppose when the NDIS rollout, they wanted to encourage choice and control by getting providers to start businesses. So they. But now there seems to be an influx in providers, so the rationale is not the same, and now we've got these ridiculous expectations around margins.
I have a different theory
Okay.
on that.
Okay.
So the fact of it is, if when we run a business, to be very powerful in it, we need to understand our unit costing, correct? So we always look about per unit. You add all the costs and you know what's your hourly. And our unit is an hourly rate, okay? When we initially started looking at the NDIS in 2012, 2013, the modeling was non-for-profits majority.
Correct.
Overheads were through the roof. Everyone had like just people, like finance departments with 10 people and this and that.
Yeah, remember.
block
So
kind of
remember
days.
those days?
Yeah, how
It was
yeah,
really high, right?
like
So
just
when-
so top heavy.
So when they all produced the unit costing for the government to start working the costing model, everyone wanted like $70 an hour, $65 an hour and above. Right? And I'm talking now 2012, 2013,
When
right?
aged care, that's where we were at,
Was
like 88
significant.
now
Yeah, it
or
was
something.
significant. The unit cost, the hourly rate. The NDI started at $47. So for them to get to the $47, the way they did it, so no one argues it, they said we're going to take the numbers from all providers across the board and we're going to come up with an average. And that becomes fair. And the ones that are more need to get better at managing, and the ones that are less, good luck. So the only way they could bring it down is having those new, smaller providers that doesn't have overhead. That's the only way they could do it. So all these smaller little providers that jumped in, they have an owner. Luckily, if they have another admin person with them. And that's pretty much it. They use a tax agent externally to do the taxation. They might use like employee or the likes to do their HR. And that's it. There's no overhead really heavy. And that means it brings the costing and the average down. That's my view on it. Yeah.
Yeah, still, I want to have a debate with whoever designed the cost model. But I
If you
mean,
can find them, let me know.
maybe you and I can go after them together.
I've got one more question. I don't know if you have any, Rach, but I think like you just said, from living on the streets to being on Richard Branson's island, what are the biggest takeaways that you can give to our audience on how they can achieve similar success? What were the key things that...
First thing is everything is doable if you put your head to it. but it comes with a responsibility, and it comes with a lot of effort that you need to build along the way. If you're not willing to put the effort, you're not going to get the outcome. If I went back when I first landed in Australia, and I remember actually I did a program called 100% Human at Work with Version. And they said, open your phone and open a photo and look to the person next to you and tell them why you picked that photo. All right? So everyone brought a photo of their kids, their families, a nice holiday they had. And I brought a photo with the governor. I was having lunch with the governor and I brought the photo. And everyone said, well, no, but I'll tell you why. Because this was my journey. The only reason, when I first came to Australia, I did not know that Australia had a governor. And the shift in that to be able to go and have lunch with the governor, it's not about the governor themselves, although I think she's an amazing person. I actually really like her. But beyond that, this is my journey that when I walked in, I had no idea and reached a point that I can sit with the governor, have lunch. What did I do in the middle is I pursued a dream. I did not stop. I don't stop until I get my things done. And I am aware of where I wanted to go. I said to myself, I will never be back to that point. So everything I'm doing is I'm working on that. And in the journey, I'm helping people, I'm supporting people, improving the world to be a better place. And I'm doing all this in along the way.
And you know what? I know that you're going to keep going on it, but I do think there's this sense of like, you need to have this sense of hunger. And it might even, I even call it the mongrel inside me, you know, and I think it's typically informed by your past, right? And if you've like, I find that when I've done all of my like sort of personal development work and I've met a whole bunch of people that they've got this no sense of like urgency, and it's typically because they've had a very normal upbringing with a very, you know, normal home and money in the family and whatever. And for me, it was very different. And so there's this like urging sense of fire in my belly, you know what I mean? Like I'm hungry, you know, this sense of mongrel, I call it, you know, and you got that same, like you've got that reason, like you don't ever want to be back there.
Yes,
you know?
and I believe in myself. And there's this thing, if you focus on the challenges or the hurdles, you will never achieve the goal. If you focus on the goal, you will work through the hurdles. So the problem is most people don't have a goal. So they're only focusing on every day, I've got a problem here, I cannot buy a property, having a deposit is too much, you know, the kids are driving me crazy, I can't put them into good school. This is everyone's focus on what's going wrong to a point that they don't even have a goal they're working towards. How do you achieve greatness if you don't have it as a goal? You know, set up your goal properly, be clear about it, and work towards it. And in the middle, deal with everything else that comes with it. So Richard Branson is an achievement for me because this guy is brilliant. How many people can say, I went and sat down with Richard Branson?
Not many.
You know,
Me
not
next
many.
year.
There you go. I'll invite you with me. Richard.
I think what you guys were just saying about risk, I think, I don't know if it's environment that breeds it or in terms of what environment you come from, right? Because I know a lot of people that, like if we look at Donald Trump, right? He's a good example of that. He has never had to have any, like be scared about becoming nothing because he's always had a safety net that he's got a big pool of people around him. So he's happy to take every risk in the world because if he loses everything, doesn't matter, he's got a safety net. And then you guys are saying from the polar opposite side, it's I'm willing to take every risk possible because I want to get as far away from that place as possible. So the risk appetite is the same, but from polar opposite sides of the spectrum.
What would you say your
hey?
risk appetite is?
Look, I am a calculated risk is the way I go. There's no reward without risk, right? But there's no high reward without high risk. But the fact of it is, risk is never the issue, in my opinion. It's how much you put effort to try and identify and have a contingency plan behind it. What you said about Donald Trump there is a contingency plan for it. He identifies the risk and finds out that what's the worst case scenario and works with that. Now, the more effort you put in identifying the risk, the better you get at, building your contingency plan, the more likely you're going to succeed. I mean, there is a methodology that I believe in. So everyone wants to start a business, for example. They will always look, my skill set is whatever, marketing, all right? And I'm going to jump into marketing wagon and I'm going to build a marketing company. And then they try and kick it off and it doesn't move. It doesn't want to move. I've got a small client here, I've got a bit of income here, but I want to become I want to become the largest. I want to become Passion Collective Marketing or something like that, right? And it doesn't work. And the reason, in my opinion, is we should never start from our skill sets. The starting point should be I know where I am. I need to work out where I want to go. And what does success look like for me? That's the first thing. Then I work backwards from the point of goal or success and what it looks
Reverse
like.
engineer it. Yeah.
And then reverse engineer it till
You're
today.
using engineering.
Now, here you
You're
go.
using
Here
your
you go.
degree.
And then as soon as I work that plan out, I've got a pathway to success. Then what I do from there is I work on two things before I even apply my skills. One, what are the challenges that will stop me from achieving that goal? What could I face? And the more, and this is the risk part of it, the more I work the hurdles and the challenges that will prevent me from achieving my goal, or the better I get at it, the more chance that I'll succeed because I work it out prior to it happening. The second thing I do is I list out all the skills that I need as a business, regardless of my own skills, to succeed. So if we talk, for example, compliance, marketing, finance, whatever, I list them all up. So now what I have is I have a goal, I have a plan to achieve that goal, I understand the risks that will stop me from achieving, I have a plan to mitigate those risks, and I have the list of skill sets that I need to make all that work. I've got recipes for success.
Yeah.
Then I apply my skills. I say, okay, compliance, tick, I can do that. Finance, not my thing. Now, the things that I identify that it's not my thing, I've got two options. One, go and learn it and become good at it. Two, get someone to do it. But if I start my business or I start my journey without mitigating those, the chances of me failing then becomes higher.
Yeah.
And that's, so just reverse engineer the whole concept. And that's how we do it in business. That's how Donald Trump does it. And you know, and I've had that conversation, you know, he does it like that. This is my risk. This is what I'm going to do. This is the empire that I want to build. And whatever the opinion about him as a person is from a business perspective, and then he builds a strategy around it with the least risk, not no risk, but how are you going to deal with the risk when it comes at you?
Yeah. You have such incredible, mature insights. You know that, right?
Thank you.
I've got one point and question that I want to touch on is that you mentioned there around like outsourcing or finding someone with the skills, right? And I went to a recent event and we talked a lot about that because, say, for example, if I wanted to go out and learn finance, right? I've got a 4-year degree or probably longer than that, and then I need to go and, you know, use those skills in a work setting and you know, hone in on those skills and blah, 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 right? Often it's not like to go and then develop those skills. It's going to take you far more time, resources, energy and money to learn the skill rather than just to outsource it or get somebody else that already has that skill set, right? So in business, what is your sort of position on partnerships and collaboration?
It's one of my favorite things to do. And I have a view around that though. I hear it so much in our sector, collaboration, not competition, and then they go out there and rip each other apart. You know, we're not going to compete. You know, it's about people, and I'm not about the money. And then if they lose a client, they jump up and down. How many people have you actually seen when, you know, your participant, for example, is cancelling service and they want to move to another seal accommodation? How many providers have you seen say, sorry, you shouldn't leave, let me talk to Rachel and see what the problem is and I'll help them out to do a better service, then you don't have to move. How many have you seen that? Now, this is what I call collaboration, right?
Yes.
This is, if you want to talk about collaboration,
Yes.
I've done it multiple times. You know, in my previous organization, do you know how many clients wanted to come to us? I took him all and said, let me try and help you to resolve your problems. I know the CEO, I know the general manager, let's go out. And I went out multiple times, sat with them and said, okay, let's fix this up. And if you've got a problem with fixing it up, I can help you. I've got resources to fix it up. That's true collaboration.
Absolutely.
Right? That doesn't happen that often. Now, if I do it to you and you do it to me and we do it to X and Y and Z and everyone does it, we actually, none of us lose clients and all of us grow. And we don't compete for real because we're all working towards the same thing. I'm helping you to become a better provider. You're helping me to become a better provider. And the client gets the most out of it.
Exactly.
That's collaboration, not referrals. I hear people, I'm going to refer to you my clients because if I cannot do it, I'm going to refer to you. And that's how we're collaborating. I'm sorry. That is no collaboration. Collaboration.
That's just your job, right?
That's all right. That's what you're doing, what you're meant to do.
Yeah.
Real collaboration is, I've got a skill set that you don't have. You have a skill that I don't have. Let's go to the client and both deliver combined
Yeah,
skill sets that
100%.
the client benefits from.
Agree.
So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah,
on
and I
it.
also love partnerships as well. I think that I'm sure that, I mean, I don't know what your sort of, global network looks like, but I'm sure that you've leaned on partnerships and collaborations in all of
Plenty.
your ventures,
Plenty.
to get to where you're at. You said before, you can't do a puzzle on your own, right?
Never.
So it's so incredibly powerful once you actually stop, because I used to have a scarcity mindset around partnership and collaboration, and it took me something to overcome that. And now I have this incredible abundant mindset around partnership and collaboration, and the success and impact you can have when you actually lean into that. And when you truly are partnering and impacting, that's when success truly, I think,
Of course.
flourishes.
You rise above.
Yeah.
Where I sit now, I've had multiple providers will come. Yes, I actually had one this morning in my office telling me, "Can you help me out grow my business?" And I said, then I did a strategy, and I taught, what I talk about all the time: blue ocean, red ocean strategies, how to do it, build business, what's the best way to do it. I went through it. If I'm looking at that person as a competitor, why would I do that? But I don't look at people that way. I rise above all that kind of stuff. And I find my niche and what I'm good at, and I help people to be good at what they're good at. And then we build a partnership together, and we grow together.
100%.
There's plenty of work out there, and that's what people need to understand. I hear it all the time. I hear it every time I go to a network event, someone says it. But I actually haven't seen many of it. There's only a few. There are some that are doing it, but only a few that are actually practicing what they're saying.
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree. I love
100%.
that. I love that. We have to leave it there. There's been I don't even know how many takeaways we've got there. I mean, bloody hell.
Yeah. Yeah. What are your takeaways, Rach?
Oh, so I normally do 3 takeaways, and I've got about 1,000 running through my head, as I knew I would when we were going to have this conversation. But I'm just going to give a couple. So I think, from our initial conversation, working from home is a no-go. I think we've all determined that. We do use algebra in our daily practices. Thank you for that golden nugget. I think my most thing is that you have to go after what you want, and if helping people feels good and it satisfies you, then and it's your journey, then it will be beautiful.
Amazing.
And I loved the saying, "A shift without goodness sinks." Your dad is a very smart man.
Thank you. I'm writing a book about that, around that concept.
Yeah.
So.
Another thing is you have to have a good mentor. I think that people that goes sort of a little bit wayside, but having good advisors, mentors, coaches to help you be the best version of yourself and improve your skill set. I think. I mean, you have one of the greatest mentors, but I'm sure you've had many
multiple,
mentors.
And I have multiple. I don't believe in having one mentor.
Yeah.
Because no one can cover every aspect of your business,
Totally.
really. I've got multiple mentors.
Yeah.
I also don't believe in giving advice or taking advice, because my mom gives me advice about business all the time. It's a true story.
Yeah.
And the fact of it is, advice comes from a good place commonly, but it doesn't always come from a place of experience. While mentorship comes also from a place of experience. This is how I've done it. This is what I did. This is the outcome that I had because of what I've done. It's a very clear methodology, and there's a track record behind it.
Amazing.
You can then take what you want from it, apply it, if it works, and if it doesn't, then you don't. And that's what I love about mentorship.
I love that. And the final one is write your recipe for success. Thank you so much for your time.
Excellent. Thank
Pleasure.
you for joining
Thank you
us.
for having me. Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Excellent. Cheers. If anyone wants to get in touch or find out more about Yasser, you can look in the bio down below. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks
Cheers.
for having me.